Conway, who's slow coming up the hill, and all of a sudden, here will come Chris Barrett. He's got himself an angle and a line and a way and a no and a how to the outside to take the lead, and he's done it.
Will this be complete though? Conway backs it up, tries to set it up, coming towards the outer loop this time. Barrett now to the race lead, had to recover from more than 5 seconds back after the two were separated on the pit sequence. Now Conway has one more section to try and find a way back around his teammate.
I wonder if he slowed up to make sure he had enough fuel to make it to the end. That will be the only reason why he dropped so dramatically on the run up through the S's section. But as he takes this rise now, if he's left himself enough on the fuel save, he'll have one place to attack. It's here at the heel of the boot. He looks to the inside. He sends up the inside. Oh, and the two make contact.
Bit of a battle down into Brooklands here, and this is Michael Davies trying to keep Lowendick from getting a second spot from his starting position, up from 8th to 7th, trying to get 6th spot, and he's on the inside. It's a drag race as they come onto the old pit straight, and he's going to have the inside. Teddy probably not going to give this one up as he's got the desired position. He has the higher ground. No, he's not going to have to give it up. Look at sending it in deep. Michael Davies is absolutely monster through there. Do they dare 3 wide? Trepanier thinking about it, then backs out, still carrying on down into the Maggots Beckons quarters, and Michael Davies is going to be able to successfully defend that spot.
It is quite amazing the turn of pace that Waring has gotten. Oh, there's been traffic for McGreevy up ahead, Zachary Brown in the Dog Bear BMW, and that has compromised Osowski, and that's going to be Waring trying to thread the needle on the outside coming into the 90, and at the pincer move with Osowski, he almost gets into Waring on the inside, but just manages to pull it up in time.
They've got to be a little bit careful about trying to be too aggressive going down into China Beach. It looks like Day's going to try to be later on the brakes, maybe make the move. Barbosa getting a little bit squirrely under braking, and that is all the opportunity that Rodrigo Mies needs. He's going to try to send it around the outside of madness. Here he comes, diving it down side by side with Raymond Day.
As we watch him go down through the corkscrew, back towards the right side, looking towards another amazing finish, taking up that inside, going in to turn 10, he takes the lead. How does he hold it?
Can Prieto hold on after the descent of the rainy curb? Here comes Espes. One final corner for the season. Later on the brakes is Espes. Espes goes for the cut. Prieto parks it on the apex.
As we watch the heart rate monitor almost making contact in front of him, side by side, up through Hawthorne, still nobody willing to give way between them, and through he goes. Kimmo manages to get in, so does Michael de Turk, as Suarez unfortunately dropping down to 13th.
Let's see, though, if Horvath is going to have anything. Tries to send a little bit of a move through the S's. Here he comes. A last-minute dive bomb. That is going to be into the inside line. Holding out to the outside as Horvath tries to get it. They spin. They spin across the line and make contact.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer And right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
The MX-5s have yet to give us a repeat winner, and the GT3s have been dominated by one driver this season. What a contrast it's been between the two series on Monday nights. Tonight's event leaves us wondering whether we'll witness a break in the trend or if business will carry on like normal. Let's find out as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the PRL GT Pro Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up is the legendary Imola. Let's head down to our track guide to see what the Italian fans have to cheer about at this place. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamborello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change, in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? Well, DJ, it was a little bit of a break, and F1 wasn't here for a while, but now that they've returned, it seems like the eyes of the world are once again on this little Italian track.
They are indeed, Joe, and they are here for the right reasons. This is one of the greatest racetracks in the world and one of the most difficult to master. These little MX-5s, they're going to have their work cut out for them, but there is going to be a very, very good couple of overtaking opportunities, namely getting a good draft down the main straightaway and making the move down into Tamborello. We've also seen some good runs coming out of Alta down into Ravazza 1 and 2, so watch for those two areas. But the big storyline to watch out for for here today is going to be track limits. That's both in terms of picking up incidents for cutting chicanes and for the physical damage that you can take out on track. There are a lot of sausage curbs and turtles down to the inside of these corners, and if you catch them wrong, they can really throw off even these sturdy little Miatas.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for that if we see any sort of damage. And wow, big slide there into Aqua Minerale for somebody. In the meantime, we want to mention that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Now, if we take a look at the championship, even though it's not seen a driver win twice out there, Bradley Holly's been very consistent, has not finished outside of the top 5 once yet this season, and that's put him about 13 points ahead of Kevin Berquist. Jacques Boucher does a little bit of a jump back, and then we have a tie for 4th, Muirhead, and how about this, Kings, who didn't really have the greatest start to the season, and the last couple rounds has suddenly been wickedly fast out there. So we'll see if he can keep that up here today in Italy. In the meantime, let's take a look at the team's championship.
Well, Joe, in that team's championship, it's Miata Mafia, much like last season, continuing to have a stranglehold on the field with a 31-point advantage over Oh God Right Turns. Behind them, 5-5 Motorsports is about 12 points back of Oh God Right Turns and a little bit in an island to themselves, as Crikey No Brakes is about 8 points back of them. Big gap, though, between Crikey No Brakes and Fossil Racing Bone to the tune of about 50 points. So some pretty wide margins there in the team standings.
Undoubtedly. And for today's race, another sprint event, 35 minutes. But if you haven't watched this series before, they have to stop for fuel as they've limited the fuel cells compared to the real Miatas. So they will have to make a splash before they get to the finish. They also have an open setup in this series. I have to imagine they'll try and make those cars pretty compliant over those big sausage curbs. And then they've got drive-through penalties at 13 incidents. That could be a real concern because drivers have expressed some difficulty in trying to keep it within the boundaries in this warm-up, and then disqualification at 17. Bonus points for fast lap, pole, and 3 incidents or less. Before we get to the qualifying, make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more at majorsgarage.com. Or use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. We have a link in the description below that directly applies our special offer. We take a look at the qualifying. Bradley Holly, as he was in the warm-up, is looking like he is the quickest. Day also in second, but not as close as he was in that warm-up session. But we still got about 6 minutes left here for him to try and get it a little closer. Nobody else has really been able to touch those two in either of the sessions so far today, DJ. It has just been a very wide gap from the haves and have-nots.
Yeah, it truly has, Joe, and Holly and Day just seem to be the class of the field here. As you can see, Newhook about 1.2 seconds behind them. It's pretty close sailing from there on back, so we may see a battle of two different worlds out here, but plenty of close racing still to be had within those two groups.
Down into the first corner, Newhook pulling a toe from Berquist, who came into the qualifying a little bit late. There we see Newhook just behind the 64. But Bergquist has done a good job getting acclimated. He's quickly got himself up into the top 6 here, as he has a little bit of a blink, unfortunately. He's also pulling some slipstream from Dan Fendick. Up ahead, well, and now he has an off, so that's going to be that lap disqualified for him, but he can cycle back around. But he's going to need them, because the laps around here are actually surprisingly long, 2 minutes plus for them just to get one on the board.
Yeah, it's a very long track for these Miatas, Joe. A lot of long, flat-out straightaways where in a Formula One car you barely have a moment to breathe. In these Miatas, because of the less horsepower, less downforce, you've got to be doing a lot more work in the cars. As we watch coming down here, the Fendi Racing Machine bringing its way through Aqua Minerale. Dan Fendick there doing a good job to be able to keep it nice and clean through there. That is a very, very difficult corner with no matter what kind of car you are coming through there with.
Interestingly, Bradley Holly has parked it and is not showing signs that he's coming back out. He's still got that 0.4 of a second gap, but he seems to feel pretty confident about the margin he holds over Day and everybody else. So Fendick coming down into Ravazza. Let's see if he can get himself out of 18th. Muirhead goes quicker. He gets himself into 3rd with that most recent lap. So an improvement, getting within about a second, just about a second of Raymond Day, but still a wide ways to go there. So Fendick coming down to the line. Let's see what's underneath him. And it looks like he is a little bit off the pace as he crosses. No, he is actually quicker this time, a 2:10.6, and unfortunately that will not get him higher than 20th.
No, it will not. And he was able to set a personal best there in the 3rd sector, but lost a lot of time back in Sector 4. So some problems there for Fendick. We continue to watch Newhook here as he works his way around in that 87 machine. Peter, one of the drivers that was really talking about just how tricky some of the cut course penalties around this circuit are. They were very much catching him out during practice. He sort of had to change his driving style, in particular going down into Variante Alta, as that was a very, very easy place for him to pick up those 1X off tracks.
And for those wondering why it's an issue, we do believe that iRacing has actually changed the limits since last season, or at least since last time the PRL has brought these MX-5s here to Imola. So that's why they're kind of having to reset their brains and figure out exactly where the limits are in many of these corners now. Good news is that a chunk of them are a 4-wheel off marker, so it's a little easier to kind of find exactly how far you can go, knowing where the sides of your car need to sit. Looking through to see if we get anybody who is on a pretty good lap, and Jeffrey Smith was earlier, but he's dropped a lot of times, so it looks like he's not going to be able to do much on this one. So we continue to watch with Peter Newhook. And in 4th place through Alta, that's one of the big danger zones that we're expecting drivers to be able to pick up those off tracks. This time it looks like he stayed within the bounds and he's still pulling off the back of Bergquist.
And he set a personal best in Sector 3 and in Sector 4, so he may be on for a good run here if he can keep this down through Ravazza. And as you said, coming off the back of Bergquist, that should give him a nice little tow as Bergquist now dives down pit lane. That's going to be Fendick directly ahead of him, but no worries, he will still get a nice little draft here.
Yep, it's pulling him along something fierce, and as he crosses the line, it is a 2:05.3, 2/10 quicker. That'll put him into 3rd. Still has 9/10 to go to get up just to Raymond Day, let alone Bradley Holly. It's about 1.3 seconds to our pole sitter. The slipstream is about these guys' best hope to probably keep up with the 184.
Yeah, I think so, Joe. It just really and truly looks like Holly is in a league unto himself today. As we watch Raymond Day go around on that last lap, putting down a 2:04.42, which is just about parallel with his best time. So he's very, very consistent around here, just not quite fast enough to be able to close in on the back of the 184.
I was mentioning Jeffrey Smith last lap. He's still about, wow, actually, if I'm seeing this correctly, he's 2.5 seconds up on his best lap. So the 719 is actually going to get himself way up to the front if he can keep this up. Let's see how he runs through Alta. This might be the critical corner for him. If he can just keep this tidy, that looks pretty good to me, although he didn't take a whole lot of the inside curbs.
No, and while it may throw off the suspension a little bit, that is something you really, really want to do. You want to be aggressive with the curbing through Alta. Coming through Villeneuve, coming through Tamborello, you don't necessarily want to be that aggressive, but with Alta, you've really got to chuck the car through.
And he's going to take the checkered flag this time, so he really wants this to be a good one. As the 719 brings it down to the timing line. He sits in 14th position. It looks like he's lost a lot of time from what I'm seeing on mine, but I think there must be something wrong with that timing because it happened through Alta. As he crosses, it is a 2:06.886. That is less than a tenth off of his best time, unfortunately. Next one across going to be Raymond Day, who sits in second place. He is 3/10 up. That'll put him closer to Holly, but that will not get him onto the pole if that is reading right. Around the few little kinks along the front stretch to the timing line, it's a ways down to get to it right here. And it's a 2:04.2. He does improve, but that does not get him the top spot.
No, it does not. Next up would have been Parker Muirhead, but Muirhead going to call it a day and head on into pit lane. The only other car I'm seeing out on track is Jason Larson. I believe he crossed over with enough time, although I'm not seeing any green sectors here for him, so he's going to be very, very close in terms of time.
Wow, and a big development that I'm just noticing. Ryan Kings did get a lap in, but he's 23rd and 4 seconds off the next nearest car. He must not have really gotten a representative lap in out there. And this is going to have to be a heck of a charge through the field for that 43 machine. But Larson for the Crikey No Brakes team comes off of the final corner and to the line. He is going to try and finish it. He seems to think this is worth wrapping up the lap. Can he maybe get to the top 10 here across the line? A 2:06.4, nearly half a second faster. It's not a top 10, but it is 12.
No, it's not, and he gained a lot of time there in that final sector, so a very good run through Ravazza 1 and 2 for Larson.
Okay, then. Let's head through our starting grid for today. Bradley Holly has put it on the pole with Raymond Day starting to his outside, but he's at least managed to get it within 0.3 of a second. That's better than what we saw for earlier. Peter Newhook starts from third. He is definitely nowhere to be seen compared to that front row. Parker Muirhead is starting from fourth, and it's Mark Kalin hopping over from the Cup cars last night here to the MX5 Cup cars in fifth. Kelly Greenhoe starts sixth, and Kevin Bergquist is seventh. It's Ian Cabana P8 today. Malcolm Foster starts ninth, and Jerome Stanton rounding out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th position, it's going to be Patrick Cowgill, followed by Jason Larson, with Jacques Boucher in the inside of row 7 and Robert Gallinotto to his outside. Jeffrey Smith will be 15th, followed by Randy Gross, with Pete Thomas and Barron Hilton behind them. Mark Gassell will be 19th, and Russell McGuire rounds out your top 20.
After that, it's just Pete Bledon, Dan Fendick, and Ryan Kings putting the last 3 times on the board. And as we mentioned, Kings probably not what we were expecting out of him in terms of a lap time. We've got a few onboards today before we go green here. Patrick Cowgill going to be one of those in the 31, starting from 11th. It is Peter Newhook in the 87 car, running from the top 3. And a very close-up camera for him. Our pole sitter, Bradley Holly, back once again. And then Mark Kalin joins us as he did last night, who starts from the 5th position. And he looks intimidating there, even though it's not the intimidator behind him. So we now have everybody gridded up. The engines start to rev as the lights come up. And the green flag is out off the line. Raymond Day does not look fast at all. But next to him, it looks like Parker Muirhead might be able to pull that second place away from him once they break into Tamborello, if he is brave. No, excuse me, that is Peter Newhook to his inside there. Down into the first chicane, doesn't quite have the job done. Still side by side for second as well behind them. It looks like they have not had any sort of issues, and now Newhook starts to slip backwards.
And look at that. That's Mark Kalin being very opportunistic with the bad run there. He's going to have a dive down to the inside, going through Villeneuve. Not quite going to make it work there for the Webb Racing driver, but he is going to get onto the loud pedal here and be able to hold on to third place. So up 2 from that starting spot for Mark Kalin.
But look at the distance that Holly has put on them already. It's 2.6 seconds, and we're not even halfway through this lap. Looks like Day manages to at least retain that second place. Kalin experiencing immense pressure from Newhook. As they come up to Piratella, Newhook decides not to go for it. This is a relatively swift corner through there, and now it's down into Aqua Minerale as we've got a car off. That's Cabana.
I'm not sure if he got a little bit of help there coming up through the corner or not, but we'll have to go back and check that out. But the main battle here continues to be for third place as Peter Newhook is absolutely hounding Mark Kalin for that final podium position.
He definitely wants up there, but Kalin up 2 spots at the start of this race currently. Been a brilliant launch for him out of Alta. Not looking like anybody in that group really getting anything better than one another, and just kind of spreading apart as they're going to come down to Ravazza for the first time in anger.
Indeed, I said earlier, this could be one of those areas where you try to get an overtake done, but I anticipate that firing off a little bit later in the race. As of right now, the best place to do it is going to be right here, coming off of Ravazza 2, trying to nail your exit off of the apex and getting a good toe down the front straightaway into Tamborello.
Right now, none of them are getting a toe from Holly. He's got it up to 2.7 seconds over them last time by, and Newhook is glancing over his shoulder. You could see him looking in the mirror, watching to see if Muirhead is going to gain on him, but no such luck for Parker as they now hit the binders coming into Tamborello. Single file this time as compared to the first lap.
Indeed, only pass in the field was Kelly Greenhoe and Jerome Stanton, who are still duking it out a little bit as we continue to watch Newhook here, maybe thinking about a move onto the back of Mark Kalin. He's not going to have anything quite yet. I get the sense that Newhook here is just waiting and biding his time.
Unfortunately, we did have a big incident for Jacques Boucher. He got hit by Foster, and that sent him into the wall, very reminiscent of the incident between Bottas and Russell, as he certainly flew his way across the gravel. Meanwhile, here's your leader, Bradley Holly, into Piratella, and there is the visible gap between himself and P2.
Yeah, he's already got it up to 2.5 seconds here at this point, and just looks like he is continuing to grow it as much as possible. A mega run already for Bradley Holly.
I think we've got an opportunity now to maybe take a glance at the replay for Cabana and figure out if he got any sort of help. Yeah, I'd say he did. It was weird, though. He was shoved off to the outside, and then the car just swung back across to the inside. Thankfully, it looks like he didn't actually hit the wall.
I believe that was Jerome Stanton there that gave him that little bit of the love tap, and yeah, just able to get it up off of the wall there. So good for Cabana, but he's got a lot of work to do.
Absolutely, and here's the second incident. Wow, popped the car up, and that certainly didn't help him slow down, and wow, big suspension damage as well. So that was day over pretty much immediately, and he could tell wheel spin for him pretty much sealed the deal. If we come back live, look at this. It is a battle now for third place. Newhook and Kalin Day starting to gap the pair of them, and Newhook with a much better run looks down to the inside. Kalin does not defend as they break into Tamborello, give Peter Newhook the podium position.
Oh, and that was almost Kevin Berquist into the back of Mark Kalin, and that's going to, or Parker Muirhead rather, almost into the back of Mark Kalin, and that's going to allow for Berquist in turn to gain up to the back of that number 19 machine. So some things really starting to fire off here in this mid-pack.
Yeah, it's been good racing here basically from second on down. Just nothing really to shout about up at the very front of the field. Off of Tosa, they're starting to spread apart from Day to Newhook to Kalin. And it's looking like Muirhead, Berquist, Greenhoe, Stanton, those are the ones that might have a little bit of something brewing.
They very well might here, Joe, as they work their way through Piratella there. Looked like a little bit better of a run for Kelly Greenhoe behind them as they now get on the brakes for Agua Minerale here. No real passing through that corner. One of the most difficult corners in the world. You've got to be applying braking and steering lock at the same time. It is just so tricky to get right lap after lap.
I've always hated trying to get the car into that corner as quick as you can. And they're quickly trying to exit the Alta chicane. Now, great exit for Greenhoe. He might try and attack on Bergquist, who's not been having a good day compared to the rest of the season. Second in the points, but he only qualified 7th. He's up 1 spot. He's got to hope for better than that, and the lack of practice today might be biting him.
It may indeed, as they continue to go around here. Let's see what the exit looks like. I think Bergquist was able to get a better jump there off of the corner, so that's going to hold it at bay for now.
Looks like we may have had a retirement. Russell McGuire took some repairs, came back onto the track briefly, and then immediately towed. So I think he maybe has decided that car has too much damage. He had an incident out of Ravazza that we didn't witness earlier in the race. Coming down back into Tamborello once again. Oh, a little wide there from Muirhead. This could open the door for Bergquist.
Here he comes, trying to see if there is anything to have on that. Now, it's harder to get a move done going down into Villeneuve than it is into Tamborello, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. We continue to watch here as they go in. It looks like he's going to back off and take discretion as the better part of valor for the moment.
Oh, maybe not. Another little look around the outside, and Muirhead has to defend into Tosa. Round the long way, coming around the hairpin, and Bergquist has the position. That's going to net him 5th place.
It does, but I'm not sure that Parker Muirhead wants to give that up quite easily, and being run offline there, that's going to put him into a direct battle with Kelly Greenhoe. Here they come up through Piratella, holding it out too wide.
Once again around the outside, as defensive moves for Muirhead have not been paying dividends in this part of the lap. He gives it up, and now Greenhoe goes through. By the way, I just noticed earlier, because Kings was in a battle with Jeffrey Smith not long ago, he's, even with losing that position, gotten himself into 13th. We're on lap 4. Remember, he started dead last in a 23-car field.
Really impressive stuff there out of Ryan Kings. Obviously, a little bit of attrition helping him, but at the same time, the 5.5 Motorsports driver clearly has a quick MX-5 underneath him and is very, very hungry to exploit it. That was a big, big slide there from Jeffrey Smith in front of him.
Yep, could see the spot right back in the hands of Kings. And it looks like Randy Gross in front of him might also offer something up, but he's boxed in right now. Gross does not defend, interestingly, on Jeffrey Smith. Will he have to? Because the long way around once again, Ryan Kings smoking the tires and still holds on as he is back into 12th.
He's got to be a little bit careful, Joe. This track, if you overheat the tires a little bit, it can be hard to get them back under control until you come back to this main straightaway right here. There's a lot of lateral load being put into these MX-5s, specifically because they don't have the downforce, and these corners are a little bit more medium speed for them, and so they can definitely lose some grip. Whoa, that's a lot of moving there in the back.
I think that was Larson who just about put a tire into the grass under braking. That would have been a bad day, not just for him, but for Smith, because trying to stop the car would have been rather difficult in that situation. Thankfully, no dramas on that one. Is in the background. That looks like Alanotto and Hilton almost getting a little bit of a fight, but Hilton backed out of it before they got into Villeneuve, and now he gets a better run coming up to Tosa, but once again, it's going to have to be the long way around.
I don't know if Barron's going to have it, and indeed he's not going to. But up ahead, Ryan King's able to get by Ryan Gross and move himself up into P11.
I think those two are I think that's teammates out there, so that might have been a little bit facilitated. Yeah, it looks like he didn't defend the inside. So Gross knew he was quicker and just let him carry on. Coming down now into Aqua Minerale once again, a small peak from Smith on Gross, and that doesn't quite work out. Behind them, way off for both Larson and Hilton. Hilton might get a slowdown penalty for that one. Larson kept it within the boundaries, and amazingly, Hilton does not seem to have a slowdown.
No, we're hearing word he may have one, and he's just trying to slowly bleed it back the best that he can. Remember, iRacing does give you about 30 to 45 seconds to give back that time, so if you're smart about it, you can just kind of do it into braking a little bit.
Yep, you're right. Just went over and checked, and he did, and was able to clear it quite smoothly. Great job on that one. That is a skill you definitely have to try and pick up over time on iRacing, how to best hand that back without making yourself vulnerable. We got to go to Greenhill once again because Bergquist is under attack for 5th position, and Greenhill manages to get to the inside. That yellow and black 12 is now your 5th place driver.
A simple draft pass right there, just a little bit later on the brakes, coming down into Tamborello. A great move for Kelly Greenhill that'll put him up into P5. And now they've got a lot of time to try to catch up to Mark Kalin ahead of them, though, about 3 seconds.
And somehow Kings had been passed by both Gross and Smith on this lap, and he's just overtaken Gross, who got shoved to the side. We need a replay of Tamborello, because Jeffrey Smith got his elbows out to try and get himself back into 11th.
All right, as we try to spool up that replay for you there, that was a little bit of a look on Ryan Gross on Jason Larson. This battle in the back here continuing to be pretty electric, Joe. It's not going away anytime soon.
Trying to find what happened. It looks like Kings was just slow coming off of Ravazza, and that's what handed both the positions away. And yeah, this was down into Tamborello that the two made contact, and there was definitely an overtake between them on top of it. Just about pushed Gross off into the grass. Thankfully, he was able to hold on to it. Here it is right here. Goes to the inside. Watch the 55 here.
Yeah, big dive down to the inside. Ooh! That's a little bit of a move over to the side there for Jeffrey Smith, but my goodness gracious. And there Ryan Kings is able to just pip right on by.
And he just pipped by Jeff Smith as well, on top of going by Gross. And Larson went by Gross on top of things. So Randy's not having the greatest of laps. A lot of action here, but this is not what Kings needs. As much fun as he's having trying to tussle with these three, because he needs to make inroads catching up to the leaders.
Really does, is we've got a car off in the back, a couple of cars off in the back that looks like Pete Ledon and Malcolm Foster.
I think that's Hilton and Foster. And this is related. Contact between the pair of them into Ravazza that pushed Hilton off the track. Foster spun it, trying to avoid him, but was not able to do so. And there it is right there.
Yeah, just misjudged his braking zone, and then for Foster, he tried to get back onto the throttle while his right side tires were on and into the grass. Frankly, lucky he didn't pick up a bigger black flag for going backwards there a little bit. As this just happened on our screen, Ryan Kings almost looking like he's letting up and letting everyone by.
That is a bit strange. He may have had a slowdown penalty or something that he had to serve, but whatever the case, he finds himself now way behind all those he was before ahead of. Now, Ian Cabana has come into the pits. He drove it into the pits, but he's been sitting stationary for 26 seconds. That's way more than a typical fuel stop here in this series. Something must have gone wrong for the 774. He's finally back out on track as we watch the fight on screen here between Smith, Larson, and Gross.
All right, so this is that three-way battle. Ooh, not the best run there for Jason Larson. He lost a little bit of time on the exit of Agua Minerale.
So I went and checked. Yeah, Kings went a little too wide coming off of the final exit. And I think that got him a slowdown penalty because that last lap was actually deleted. If you don't serve your black flag soon enough, you won't even see the lap counted. And Ryan Kings, unfortunately, discovering just how strict the track limits are here today. In the meantime, here we go again between Greenhill and Kalin. Kalin in the dark colored car in front, Greenhill in the yellow machine. Shows his nose down to the inside. Will we see a little bit of argy-bargy as well coming into this corner? Will this one be a little more clean than before? It looks very clean to me as Greenhill easily slices through.
Yeah, great pass there from Greenhow. And remember, that was a pretty substantial gap that he was able to catch up. He's now got about 5-6 seconds to try to get up the road to Peter Newhook. But with the pace that we're seeing out of Kelly Greenhow, I wouldn't be surprised if by race ends he's able to catch that back in.
Yeah, certainly. It looks like he's pretty quick today. Speaking of pretty quick, we thought that Bradley Hawley was going to just fly away with this one, but he's still at only 3 seconds ahead of Raymond Day. Don't know if that's him managing his pace or what, but he certainly was a lot quicker than everybody else that we could see earlier, and hasn't exactly lit the world on fire, but he is comfortable.
Yeah, he's got a nice little gap to himself up ahead, so that'll be some nice breathing room for Bradley. And knowing that he doesn't have Day necessarily breathing down his neck, that's really going to help him just kind of calm down a little bit, settle everything down, and just hit the lines that he needs to hit.
You know, you don't have to win by a mile, you just have to win by enough. And, oh, we just had contact between Larson and Smith coming into Aquamita Raleigh. Smith goes off the course, tries to return without running into the side of them, and now he also has to serve a black flag. I think looks like he's already served it if he did get one to try and slow down to his inside. Ryan Kings finally overtakes him and gets back into 13th. But once again, we're finding things getting a little rough amongst competitors today.
Yeah, and that to me looked a little bit like Jason Larson just kind of misjudging his braking opportunity as Kelly Greenhow dives down pit lane.
Okay, so this is probably our first taker on a scheduled stop, at least as far as we can tell. Nobody else has. We've had one DNF. Boucher is out. Russell McGuire is still taking repairs, but we're not sure if he's going to be able to get that 42 on track. And then Ian Cabanas had a long stop, but should be able to get to the finish, I think, from when he took his service. Cowgill joins on pit lane, so two yellow and black machines taking fuel. Looks like Greenhow in and out. It was a 16-second stop.
Was indeed about what we expect, as there you see Jeffrey Smith being able to get back by Ryan Kings. That absolutely flying pace from Kings earlier, looking like it's coming to a stop here as he just continues to battle around for about this 10th place position.
Drivers certainly looking a little stuck together here. Not many able to separate from one another because of the slipstreams that they're getting on those long straights up the hill towards Piratella. That was very wide there from Jeffrey Smith. Thankfully, I don't think that was a penalty or a slowdown himself as they climb up towards the left-hander. No change in position. It is Larson in 9th, Gross 10th, Smith 11th, and Kings in 12th.
Yes, it is a little bit of a look there for Jeffrey Smith, trying to see if there was something he could maybe have on Ryan Gross ahead of him. Here he comes. He's going to try it down into Alta.
Larson doesn't defend. Gross has the nose to the inside. Does he try and finish the job? No, that looks like he's backing out of it slightly. And the 55 will stay put in 10th.
So he'll stay back there. Randy Gross just trying to see if he can get anything by Jeffrey Smith, though, as a result of that battle, starting to look a little interested as we have Raymond Day and Peter Newhook both coming down pit lane. And look how much Newhook was able to gain in there on that pit entry.
Something to be said, trying to maximize that braking zone. Mark Kalin now finds himself taking his one stop for the day. If we got guys like Gross and Larson in, nope, all four are going to stay out, but Galanotto pits in the number 72.
All right, so this is a little bit earlier than I would have expected for a lot of drivers to want to pit, but I think what's happening is you're seeing drivers not wanting to lose a sense of that draft train, so immediately responding to drivers around them as that's him around. That is Jason Larson and Randy Gross making contact through Tamborello.
Way off into the weeds this time. So they're going to lose lots and lots of ground on those they were fighting with, which is Kings and Smith, who carry on, eventually able to get it back to the course thanks to that runoff, but the damage has been done to their races.
Yeah, that is going to absolutely put them down the order here. Is that right behind them is the 77 of Raymond Day, who is out and back on after his pit stop.
Okay, and Day is not our highest driver. Day had a long stop. 21 seconds. What was that about? Peter Newhook has jumped him, so Newhook should effectively now be our second place driver.
He should indeed. He will have to try to be the one now to take the fight to Bradley Holly and see if that number 87 has got the speed to close in about that 3-second advantage that we saw Raymond Day have as they dove down pit lane.
If he can, he'll be the 5th different winner in 5 rounds, but Bradley Holly is trying to keep that from continuing and make himself the first repeat winner of 2022 Season 1. He is now in pit lane, so we'll get an idea of where they sit in comparison. As you said, probably about 3 to 4 seconds between them before the stops.
All right, so that's Holly coming to rest in his pit stall. Now, in comparison, Newhook had a good pit stop that was about 17 seconds long. So that's about what we're looking at. 16 to 17 seconds here for Bradley Holly. Peter Newhook coming through Ravazza 1 and through Ravazza 2 right now. That looks like a long stop for Holly.
21 seconds. And where is... Oh, and Ryan Kings is going to be able to go by, but he has not taken a stop, so he'll temporarily inherit the lead. It looks like Newhook is coming, but he's still too far back in comparison, even though it was about 4 seconds quicker than Bradley Holly stationary in his stall.
And who has got to be absolutely kicking himself here at this point is Raymond Day. Remember, he came in with only 3 or 4 seconds. If he was able to get a quicker pit stop down to the level of Peter Newhook, he may have been able to jump Bradley Holly or at least put himself in that effective draft range to be able to challenge for the lead here.
This is very strange how we keep seeing drivers at 21, 22 seconds. I do know iRacing mimics having to switch gas cans, which I think goes up to about 5 gallons. So I wonder if that's what we're seeing here, that it's right on the cusp of a full can of gas for these drivers, and some are having to fill just slightly more, and that those extra seconds are costing them in a big way.
Very well could be, Joe, and that just shows you the kind of mental preparation that you have to have considering every element of the race here in iRacing. It's what truly makes this a simulator, that those kind of things get factored into your pit stop count.
All right, so our pit stops are, well, no, they are not done. We're still waiting on Kings, who, in spite of a lot of battling, has been able to sip his fuel a little bit better than everybody else here on lap 11, with appropriately 11 minutes to go. The 3.5 seconds back to Holly are going to get gobbled up as soon as we see that 43 hit the lane.
Yes, they are. So it'll be interesting to see if Kings is able to maybe pull out a little bit of an advantage over those cars that he was battling with earlier. He is going to come down pit lane here at this point.
All right, this hands it back to Holly now. And that'll give us a better idea of our order, which is Holly up at the front, Newhook behind, giving chase by about 2.5 seconds in P2. But he's got Raymond Day, who has got to be kicking himself for that pit stop for whatever made it long. And Day just set the fastest lap of the race, so he's definitely on a charge. Greenhoe sits in 4th, but it's 5 seconds down, almost 6 seconds down to Kelly there. And Bergquist another 2 behind on top of it. Bergquist at least going to do damage limitation here today, and looking like he's going to get a top 5.
Yeah, so he'll be relatively okay with that, I think, after the rough day he's had. But keeping an eye a little bit on this gap between Newhook and Holly. I thought when they came out of the pits, it was about 4 seconds. It's now stabilized down to about 2.4, 2.5 seconds. And it looks like Newhook's got a little bit of speed here at different points. He was quicker through some of the sectors on the last lap. So I don't think this is done by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, certainly not. I'm pretty sure that Day is going to feel the slipstream when he gets back to the front stretch, as long as he has a decent exit out of Ravazza. But that can sometimes be a big if. And we've already seen going a little too far wide in that corner is unfortunately going to cost you even more. Up and over the crest and towards Alta they go. And not close enough this time. In fact, Day slipping back. It's up to 9/10 of a second now.
Yeah, Newhook's putting in some very, very good times. He was able to take 2/10 of a second out of that lead to Bradley Holly up ahead. And so he is definitely flying here and through those two sectors, really just gaining time a little bit over his competition in the form of Raymond Day.
Now, the other interesting thing, though, is if fuel is a bit tight, we saw last round at Spa, our leader on the last lap give up the win just from underfueling it a little too much. Ryan King sputtering down to the line and allowing Bradley Holly to get his first win. And a little bit of a pull in from Raymond Day. It went up from 9/10 down to 4/10. Is this close enough? It's starting to look like he might be able to make a dive. He gets within 3/10 of a second. Does he dare? No, he does not.
Opting not to go for it there, just trying to pull it back, be a little bit cooler, and trying to make sure that he doesn't take a high-risk move here. You don't want to be doing that. You want to take high-percentage moves at this point. You don't want to throw away a podium here if you're Raymond Day.
No doubt about that. Into Tosa. And Bradley Holly carries his gap around 2.6 seconds over the pair of them, but Day's on it. He's got it down to about 4/10 of a second. This is much closer than last time around on the stretch up to Piratella. But as you mentioned, Peter Newhook looks pretty good in the middle part of the lap. Can he repeat that?
We'll have to see. He lost time on the last part of the lap, both to Bradley Holly and to Raymond Day, so not looking the best there.
We're hearing that something may have just happened around Ryan King's, and he's once again down to 13th. Oh, he had another slowdown penalty or something, because he allowed both Baron Hilton and Jeffrey Smith by on the front stretch. It's been a strange race from the 43.
And I think where he's picking it up, Joe, is in that little short shoot between Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. You can get a slowdown from running too wide through there, and that is this little area right here that we see Newhook and Day go through. That's the area I'm talking about. If you run too wide, you can pick up a slowdown there.
And they were much more tidy through there. Definitely didn't go off track themselves. I think Day might try something coming into Tamborello this time. Much better slipstream, started only 2/10 back, and it's down to 1. He's got the speed. Looks like Newhook's going to try and force him around the outside once they hit the braking for the corner, which doesn't mean that he can't do it. Let's see what Day has under the binders. Oh, both of them send it in way too deep, but I think Newhook does worse, and Day is now back in a P2.
All right, so a good decisive move there from Raymond Day, both making bobbles, but Day making a smaller one. That's exactly the kind of thing you need to do. Now he's got 4 whole seconds to get up to Bradley Holly, and I think with 6 minutes to go, that's a little unassailable. He has just got to try to focus on keeping a very quick Peter Newhook behind him.
Yeah, I agree. I really don't see it likely unless he gets a mistake out of Holly in these 6 minutes left. Which, let's see, when we get the line, it'll be under the 6. So we've only got 3 laps to go.
That is correct. So only 3 laps here and 4 seconds for Bradley Holly. As we take a look very quickly, Holly continuing to gain a little bit on those 2 behind him. Because of that battling down through Sector 1, he was able to gain a whole second over that pair.
Unbelievable stuff from the 184. I still think he is basically on a mission this season, every single race, to try and redo the season from last year at the end of the year where he lost out by a single point on the championship. He wants to try and make up for that and grab himself a crown on the roadside to try and add to his trophy case of many on the oval side here in the Precision Racing League. Coming back onto the front stretch once again, and it is now down to 2 to go for Bradley Holly.
Only 2 to go for Bradley, and he'll know that as he comes across the line, able to gap a little bit more here to the tune of about 1.2 seconds courtesy of that battling. So Bradley's going to see that in his relatives, see that gap growing a little bit, and he'll be taking a bit of a sigh of relief, I have to imagine.
Great job to Newhook in this situation. He's not letting Day get away with this. He's being glued right to the back of him. I'm also watching the battle between Jeff Smith and Baron Hilton. That's for 11th place. Oh, and we got a side-by-side here. This is Cowgill being overtaken by Stanton.
Yeah, Jerome Stanton doing a good run here. Cowgill just trying to be a little bit defensive, but too much speed for Jerome Stanton. He is going to place that very bright green and purple machine to the proper racing line, get it woed up, and that is a position ahead. That is P8 for Stanton.
Well done, up 2 from where he gridded up today. Almost looked like he was going to go defensive there for a brief second, but decided against it. Can tell you that Hilton stayed ahead of Smith, so no change there. Poor Ryan Kings. I think we had high hopes for him today, and he was not quite able to meet those expectations. Up 10 spots would still be decent, but I'm sure there was more in him than this.
Yeah, I think he'll be kicking himself just a little bit, not able to get as far ahead as he would have liked to. Starting in the back of the field certainly set him on the back foot from the very, very beginning.
Well, I hope he had fun along the way at the very least. And he could maybe pick off these 2 spots in front of him if Smith and Hilton keep fighting anymore. Into Puritel, a little bit off the apex for the 0-0, but he manages it well. No attack this time from Smith behind.
No, not looking at it right yet. And going down into Aqua Minerale, as we've said, there's not going to be a whole lot of overtaking going down into that area as they cross over here up the hill and over, driving it down into Alta. Not going to be quite close enough there for Smith.
Yeah, he's going to have to get a much better attack there. And apologies, it is now 2 to go for Bradley Hawley. Miscounted last time by. There he is out of Tamborello. And it's a 3.7 second gap down to Raymond Day. Last lap for Day at 2:05.1. For Hawley, a 2:05.6. So actually half a second faster for Raymond.
Yeah, now that Raymond has stopped battling with Peter Newhook, he has been consistently faster since the pit stops. It was really only on that battle there. You can see it. Since the pit stops, he has had more speed than Hawley. Just on lap 14, that 1.2 second advantage to Bradley Hawley, setting him back a bit.
Okay, well, as he'll get the white flag next time by, all he has to do is cruise home from here. It's Day, the one who has to be watching his mirrors, making sure that Newhook doesn't make a late race charge. Out of Aqua Minerale between the pair of them. Nearly a second now, though. Raymond is starting to be able to get himself a tiny crumb of comfort out here in Italy. Let's see if Alta Chicane will bite either them, and Day was way far out, but I don't think he got a black flag from that. No, he stayed within the bounds.
No, I think in order to pick up the black flag around there, Joe, you have to have all 4 tires off of the curbing completely. And so he was able to keep it at least a little bit on the line there. Good line through Ravazza 1 and 2. We'll be able to take that car out nice and easy. You can see just how much Newhook is pushing behind him, though, really taking that car all the way to the limits of the track.
Trying to push as far as he can, not to give Newhook a chance to try and slipstream past him here where it's easiest to try and pass. He's got to do that one more time out of Ravazza next lap around and hope that he can keep Newhook at arm's length. Up ahead of them, Bradley Hawley last lap 2:05.4. Day, another 2:05.4 matched.
Yep, absolutely perfect. So nothing between them there as they go around. One more time through these corners. Hawley losing a little bit of time on that last lap, as we've noted, but still able to hold off a nice, healthy 3-second advantage.
So Bradley Hawley trying to make himself the first two-time winner this season, and not only that, going to be back-to-back for him. Certainly putting momentum in his favor if he does so here today. Back half of the course now, down into Aqua Minerale and the 184 with his familiar colors. Just has a few more corners to go. One of the trickier ones, Aqua Minerale, does not shake him off. Also doesn't lose him too much time. Raymond Day has not been able to close in. Hawley just perfectly pacing himself, not overdriving the car, and at the same time not allowing guys like Day and Newhook to get any sort of whiff of hope.
No, not at all. It's been a perfect performance here from Bradley Hawley and a very, very good recovery from Raymond Day after that rough pit stop. Let's not take anything away from that 77.
Certainly not. And Bradley Hawley comes out of Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2 as we check in on his cam. This is going to be win number 2 of the season, firmly establishing him as the man to beat and extending his points lead today in Italy.
And there he goes to officially cross the line. Bradley Hawley, your victor. Pretty sure that was sweat and not a tear of emotion he was wiping away.
No doubt. Raymond Day with a second place. Peter Newhook with a well-earned third. Bergquist, will he actually lose second place in the points with this? I don't think he will, because none of the drivers that he has to worry about behind him finished ahead of him today. So the worst part of it is really that he's going to lose a lot of points to the 184s. We got a battle down to the line between Stanton, who's underfueled it, and Patrick Cowgill easily breezes past to take an 8th place.
Seeing that fuel economy coming back to bite again, this time in the form of Jerome Stanton.
He was in a side-by-side battle before that, and unfortunately just didn't pay out. Strangely, no drivers a lap down. Fendick, who is going to be our last one to come across in 21st, is on the lead lap. McGuire and Boucher were DNFs in the end. And down to the line, it looks like Larson is going to be able to keep Randy Gross behind him. Boy, those two lost a lot of positions with that off. Speaking of positions, let's go through the finishing order with Bradley Hawley finishing in first as Raymond Day was behind him in second. It's Peter Newhook, P3, and then Kelly Greenhoe in the 4th position. Kevin Bergquist, as I mentioned, only good enough for a top 5 today. Parker Muirhead was 6, and Mark Kalin, P7. After that, Patrick Cowgill starts from 8th, or finishes in 8th rather, and Jerome Stanton finishes 9th with Pete Thomas rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Baron Hilton, followed by Jeffrey Smith, with Ryan Kings only good enough for 13th, and Ian Cabana behind him in 14th. Robert Gallinotto was 15th, followed by Malcolm Foster, with Jason Larson behind him. And, we had a flip on the order there. 15th was Malcolm Foster, followed by Randy Gross, with Pete Bledon, Martin Giselle, Robert Gallinotto, and Jason Larson rounding out your top 20.
After that, last one to finish was Dan Fendick, and McGuire and Boucher didn't get to see the checkered flag today. But the first one to see the checkered flag was Bradley Hawley, getting his 2nd win of the season. And after Spa and getting a little bit of a surprise, I'm sure he's glad to have a little bit more of a calm and predictable race. Brad, based on what we saw in the warm-up and then later in the qualifying, it looked like this one was just about sewed up from the beginning.
Yeah, a little bit. I definitely have Raymond to thank for the pole on that one, because I stayed behind him and had the draft, and that significantly helped me.
So that explains it. We couldn't tell what was giving you so much speed out there. But then it came to the race, and you had a little bit of help with the two behind you having some problems into the first corner, and you pulling a gap. From there, were you just managing it? Was there more pace in it?
Yeah, definitely managing for sure. With how fast Raymond is, I felt I was honestly expecting him to get to me by the end of the race, and to my surprise, I was able to manage the gap at about 3 seconds for a majority of the day.
Very well done there. There was a bit of a question mark, though. We were wondering, you and a few others had a bit of a long pit stop, especially long compared to everybody else. What was causing the 22-second stops that so many people had?
The amount of fuel we needed to get to the end of the race. From what all my telemetry was telling me is we needed 3 gallons, and so that's what me and everybody else in Waterback ended up taking today.
Interesting. Well, thankfully it didn't lose you the lead. Is there anybody you want to thank for this cruise to victory?
I'd like to thank the Waterback guys. With everything of last week with the Daytona 24, it was very tough to get practice in for this and the 24, and we made it work and had a good race pace. I'd like to thank everybody in the GSRC for broadcasting us week in and week out. You always put on a great show, and everybody in the PRL and all the organizers. We work very hard to make everything as even and fun as possible, and we look forward to doing it for the rest of the year.
Great stuff there from Bradley Hawley. Even more impressive with a lack of practice today, still taking the win. Is up next, third place with Peter Newhook, and DJ Clark has caught up with him.
I have indeed, Peter. A bit of a up and down race. You were up in second, then after the pit stops and bumping back down, you ended up finishing where you qualified, but still a podium is a podium, and this has got to feel good.
Yeah, I feel like the results of that race don't really reflect the work that went into it. But yeah, super happy just to finish after a few sort of bum weeks. It was really nice to for that to go.
Well, talk to me about the pit stops. We just heard Bradley saying that they needed 3 gallons to make it to the end, but you were about 4 seconds faster than Raymond Day and Bradley. So you clearly made it work. What do you know that they don't?
I think they both had to be pushing because they sort of had clear air in front of them. I got to save a little bit behind Raymond. I put in 8 liters. I'm not really sure what that means in old money, but I thought there was a chance when I had that big gap, but Raymond's just so fast. He caught me before a lot could happen.
Well, with that battle with Raymond, I mean, how much were you looking in the rearview mirror? How much were you trying to drive your own line? Talk to me about that.
I think for the first few laps, I really thought, okay, maybe if I just put my head down, I can get this. And then as soon as he was within draft range, I thought, there's no way I'm holding him off. I can just hopefully stay within draft range. And I think I did an okay job. I was actually at 1.1 seconds, which was infuriating, but I held it there.
Well, you did indeed, and you're able to spray a little bit of champagne here today. Yeah. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, honestly, I want to thank you guys for these awesome broadcasts. My family and friends always comment on how great they are. I want to thank the PRL team for the great work they do. I did Daytona with a group from PRL, and it was just fantastic, and it shows how much work goes into that. And I want to thank my little buddy Jim. He's been my number one supporter all along. I want to thank him for not going behind the pedals anymore, and yeah.
Well, looks like he may want a little bit of attention, so we'll leave you, and you and Jim can have some time. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
That was Peter Newhook, your third place finisher here today. Joe?
Love when we get a look at the pets here on GSRC, but we are going to take a quick break, but the racing is not over. We're going to leave Italy and head on over to Florida for Sebring with the GT3 Pro-Am Series. Precision Racing League is coming back with more action.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So Let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're going to give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Precision Racing League here on the Global Sim Racing channel. It is event 2 of the night, and it's at a track where if you had to give advice to drivers, it'd be to buckle up, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. Let's look at the track guide here for Sebring. Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Home to the 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the most grueling tests in endurance racing, this is a track which has earned a fearsome reputation among drivers. The circuit itself is located on the southeastern edge of the city of Sebring, Florida, and was built out of Hendricks Army Airfield shortly after World War II. 3 layouts are currently in use, ranging from 1.7 to 3.7 miles in length. The longest course, which is perhaps the most well-known with it being the one used for the famed endurance race, shockingly still contains portions of the original airfield surface. It's this aspect which has become a signature feature of the track, making it extremely bumpy for racing. Sunset Bend in particular nearly shakes cars apart while they attempt to navigate the high-speed 180-degree corner. As you'd expect for the side of an airfield, there's nearly no elevation change over the course of a lap, but many of the curves are dramatically tall and unforgiving, daring drivers to glance them yet not hit them directly. Thankfully, places to pass are plentiful, including spots like the Hairpin and Cunningham. However, the many fast, sweeping turns creates a dilemma for car setup, since a vehicle that's made too stiff could wind up bottoming out on the onerous bumps. In the end, if you have the wherewithal to withstand the track's rough nature, you're likely to fare well. And since Florida fans almost always show up in huge numbers to witness this test of car and driver, you'll have plenty to impress at this legendary North American road course. Well, DJ, these GT3 cars might have a lot of gadgets on them to help the drivers try and smooth out these bumps, but I don't think that's going to do the complete job for them.
No, it is not. Sebring is known as one of the bumpiest race circuits in the world, but always seems to produce some truly incredible racing. A couple of key overtaking opportunities to look at here. First and foremost, you can get a good run going down into turn 1 and maybe even seeing it carry on into turn 2. Then you can also get a good run coming through Gurney Bend, that big bend there, and down into the hairpin. And then finally at the end of the Almond Straight through Sunset is another great overtaking opportunity. But from there on out, it's really about car control and not overcompensating for the bumps. Your car's going to get light at different points over this Florida circuit. And as a driver, you have just got to keep heads up, make sure not to put too much input into the cars when you're riding over those bumps, because that will for sure send you spinning.
That's one of the things I always hated about driving here. As we now take a glance at the championship order for the pro drivers. And Krasowski, as I mentioned at the top of the show, has won every single round so far. But it's only 11 points over Trepanier. Remember, Krasowski got a points penalty for the first round. So that's what has closed that one in. Otherwise, it would be much bigger. Trepanier has been consistent, but last round he finally finished outside of the top 5 for the first time. As Dave Menino sits in third, only a point ahead of Arnaud Genet, and then it's a bit of a jump down to Dominic Olivier, who is the last of our top 5. We also have an Ams Championship. Let's take a look at that.
Well, Joe, in that Ams Championship, it is Juan Benitez leading the way by about 18 points, but a very close battle there for second, with Dewey Kang a single point ahead of Jean-Claude Langlois and Kwok Nin, who are tied for third, and Alexandre Breton only a point back from them. And the next closest driver back, well, that's Marc-André Desjardins, and he's only 6 points back. So a very, very fierce battle going on for that second place position right now.
We've also got a team's standings here, and ASR Esports are the ones that are leading the way. Most of those points being contributed by Trepanier so far, and Craven Norris, the other one, trying to help out there. From there, look at the tight fight for second. NTR Motorsports and Precision Racing Island boys, and the Precision Racing Island boys have jumped themselves up actually in this last round. They had a great performance before. SRT Esport Black and You're Dismissed split by a mere 3 points, down from 4th to 5th. For today's race, what do we have in store, DJ?
Well, Joe, it's going to be a little bit of a longer race with 40 minutes here, but we're still going to have the same thing that we saw in the last race in the MX-5s. These fuel cells are limited, so drivers will have to come into the points at some point during the course of the race. It is open setup here, and that's going to be specifically crucial at Sebring, where you can really tune the cars to maximize through the second and third sector, or you can try to get as much speed as possible going down the long Ullman straight. Same incidents as always. You get a drive through at 13, disqualified at 17, and bonus points are available for fastest lap, pole, or 3 incidents or less.
Well, we got quite a fight on our hands here in the qualifying, because the top 4 after the first lap has gone by leaves us with 0.175 of a second from first to 4th place. And it is Kazuki Fujita who has the pole position currently. 1:59.2. He now crosses for a second lap, but that one does not count, it appears. Krasowski also had his lap deleted as he cycles back through. He's only in 3rd place, and it's Menino who is on the outside of the front row with Kazuki. Vincent Trepanier has found speed once again compared to Silverstone and is at least sitting in 4th.
Is indeed. And one of the newcomers that we keep just talking about, Kazuki Fujita, with that top time, very, very good from him. Trepanier, again, being the standard bearer here for the Audi, but as of right now, it's Lamborghini and BMW on top.
Can we give a tip of the hat to Iago Moraes in the 93? That's our AM pole sitter in 6th overall. He's just coming across for his second time. Looks like that one must have been an outlap. I think a lot of drivers have parked it after their first go to try and get some fresh tires for the next time around. We've been seeing that a lot recently in these GT3 cars because they only get 4 laps, so they sacrifice one just to try and see if they could get one more lap of fresh tires in. And heading into 3, 4, and 5, Iago has got himself less than a tenth to at least crack into the top 5 amongst these pro drivers.
He does indeed. The slow motion driver here, trying to see what he can do, coming down into the hairpin right now. Very tricky braking zone. It doesn't look like it, but again, those bumps can just absolutely throw you out, really throw the car out of whack. And now comes the twisty bits, the run through the Fangio chicane up to Cunningham, down into the tower turn. Very, very tricky to get right. It's very easy to get disoriented around this part of the Sebring circuit. Everything is absolutely glass flat, and it's very easy for you to lose your way.
Ooh, I'm watching Fujita and Krasowski. Fujita's having a bad lap, but Krasowski's having a good one, and he crosses with a 59.138. That's good enough for pole. Fujita is not able to respond, and he parks it again to get fresh tires once more.
So a little bit of strategy there playing out for Kazuki Fujita. He is going to want to do that. It looks like Krasowski also pitting as well as we continue to watch Iago Moraes here working his way around. Personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2. So definitely some good time out of that Audi.
Small correction for myself. He's not able to come back around. He will not be able to return for another lap because we're down to less than a minute. Much like we saw at Imola with the MX-5s, it takes around 2 minutes to circulate here. Iago to the line. This will be his last timed lap. What has the 93 got? 59.8. That is 3/10 slower, unfortunately. Anybody else got a quicker time? Dewey Kang had a fast one on his second lap, not so on the third. As we take a look now, one of our drivers a little bit farther away from the finish line. Not sure if Gonzalez is even going to be able to get back around in time. 18 seconds left.
I don't think he is. He is coming around there as this is the 12 that we watch right now, working his way around through that tricky back section of the track. Porsche not overall favored here. Olivier up in 5th with it, but that seems to be one of it as there's the checkered flag.
Yep, that is it for our qualifying day. A lot of drivers didn't even get 2 laps in here. And the order up at the front is Daniel Krasowski with the valuable bonus points and trying to make it 4 for 4 on wins. Fujita will fight him for that, I'm sure. Menino is P3 as Vincent Trepanier starts on the outside of row 2. Dominic Olivier will be P5 as Diego Moraes, pole sitter for the Ams, starts from 6. Then it's Teddy Lowendick in 7th, followed by J.R. Williams, P8. Michael Davies is on the inside of row 5. Jean-Marc Tremblay will be in 10th.
In 11th, it's going to be Jeremy Gonzalez, followed by Jerome Bethune, with Kevin Norris 13th and Dewey Kang in 14th. Tyler Campbell lines up to the inside of row 8, and Aaron Webb will be flanking him with Juan Benitez in 17th and Edward Nelson in 18th. Jordan Coons lines up in 19th, followed by Tommy Brisson, rounding out your top 20.
Little bit of a better qualifying for Kwok this week compared to Silverstone with 21st. Vicente Sepulveda starts 22nd and Alexander Breton will be 23rd. Then it is Alan Roth in the 24th position, Jean-Claude Langlois in 25th, and Alex Trabert on the outside of that row. Arnaud Genet starts 27th. Marc-Andre Desjardins, P28. Danik Van Dale, bit of a poor qualifying. He'll want better than that to help him in this Ams Championship. He'll start from 29th. Cody Hatch rounds out your 30th spot. And Josh Slade making it a full 31-car field out here today, many of which are giving us some onboard cams, including Am driver, the 55 of Juan Benitez. Nice triple screen setup, very actually quadruple screen. Look at that. Looks like he's also got Discord ready to go, and he is signed up and ready to give us his angles. And we also have Kevin Norris giving us a perspective coming from 13th on the grid. A little bit of a mid-pack start for him. He'll want to get a little bit higher up. And once again, the champagne is at the ready for our man Teddy Lowendick here, starting today. Where is he actually starting from? 7th place, it looks like today. Still not impossible to get that elusive podium. And then finally, we have Aaron Webb with us, the Am driver, beginning this race from 16th. So just about smack dab in the middle of things. And he looks pretty calm about it, frankly.
He does, certainly a lot more calm than I would be at the start of the race. I tend to be sweating bullets, Joe. But yeah, now a full pace lap here around Sebring, and that'll give the drivers some time to just kind of gather their thoughts, get everything back up under them, maybe focus a little bit on race strategy and what you've got to be hitting.
Indeed. Well, Fujita couldn't quite overtake Krasowski back at Silverstone, but let's think back to Phillip Island, where it looked like he actually had the measure of him for a bit of the time. Are we going to see the Kazuki from back in Australia, or is this going to be a little bit like in England, where he just could not match our current points leader? Whatever the case, I am ready for round 3 between these two, because this has been one of the greatest rivalries we've seen in PRL in some time.
It certainly has, Joe. Absolutely incredible. Kind of bringing me back a little bit to the days of Greg Seitz and Joshua Chin back when PRL was running the old Indy Pros. Just absolutely incredible to watch them duking it out.
Well, let's hope it doesn't end prematurely, though, because it certainly looked like it was getting a little rough at times back at Phillip Island. But I have the utmost trust in these two to be able to take it to the checkered flag and keep it fair. As we come into Collier with these 31 cars, though, thankfully it is a long lap because this is going to fill up the track, no doubt. And they're going to come across a lot of these cars quite quickly, trying to have to lap them. I'm wondering if that will actually play into the pit strategy at all for any of these drivers, maybe seeing some traffic coming up and ducking off early to avoid it.
Well, because of the sort of dual nature of Sebring, there's two strategies to it. You don't want to dive off. You do want to dive off if you're coming up on that lap traffic, but because of the long Ullman straight and then the run up to turn one, you also don't want to dive off too early and run the risk of not getting that toe. So it'll be interesting to see what drivers choose to do, which strategy they prefer.
It's a decently warm day here, 95 or 96 degrees Fahrenheit on the track for our drivers, and shockingly low humidity for Florida here, especially in spring. Sure, the drivers are grateful for that, and not much wind to speak of here on the old airport. As we come down the Ullman Straight, one more corner, and they are going to be released by that Porsche pace car. But look at Krasowski really holding back once again. He almost got penalized at one point because of that, and then had the penalty taken away after the first round. Instead, it was his blinking that wound up costing him those 10 penalty points that I mentioned earlier. So since then, haven't really seen any blinking, thankfully. And off of the final hairpin, will he go early? Yes, Krasowski's on the loud pedal, and the green flag is out. He catches Fujita napping in a big way. The Japanese driver now has to play defense with Dave Menino to his inside. The Lamborghini might be able to take this spot away into turn one. It doesn't look like it's there. Instead, Olivier getting close. So we got a car spinning off. Is that Lowendick?
It is. That is Teddy Lowendick around in the Audi.
Oh, no, and he is going to cause a little bit more problems with those taking avoidances. It looks like Bertome got caught up in it. Somebody going wide down here at turn 3. Looks like the 75 of Michael Davies.
I think it was indeed Michael Davies, as Dave Menino lost a couple of positions there as a result of that fight. Menino back down now in third place as Olivier was able to pip on by him.
Also had Jean-Claude Langlois spinning out of turn 5. I think thankfully nobody hit him after that one. A bit of a messy start, unfortunately, and for poor Teddy, he is down to 28th after that issue. Not thinking a podium is on the cards today. Granted, we've seen stranger things. Back up at the front, Krasowski leads, Fujita leads Olivier.
Indeed, as here they go. Fujita doing a good job to keep nice and close behind Krasowski here through the middle sector of this track. That's going to be very, very important. These are two cars in the BMW and the Lamborghini that are known for their straight line speed. So he's just got to try to keep it up nice and close behind and then see if he can take full advantage of the draft off of Le Mans.
And he's definitely close enough to get that slipstream if he gets a decent exit, which it looks like that was fair enough. I don't think he's close enough, though. He's just going to pull on that BMW for the time being as they pick up pace all the way up to 155 miles an hour, nearly 160 before they break. And what's happened to Kevin Norris here? That is not a healthy-looking car.
No, some pretty heavy damage to the right front of that Audi. I think he may have some suspension damage as well, as the car looks like it's crabbing around ever so slightly.
Must have just spun it coming off of Le Mans. We'll try and take a look at it later. Also, update, we've got unsafe condition flags for Michael Davies, Ted Lowendick, and Jerome Bertome, those three involved in that opening incident.
So that means they'll have to come down pit lane and get those cars repaired. And because there is no spare car in this series, that is more than likely going to mean it is day done and dusted for those three drivers.
Yeah, at least they're just going to have to limp around to try and collect a decent finish. We once again have the return of the blinking from the 33. His race car is certainly not staying in the right position. His internet seems to be on the fritz today, and that's got to be frustrating Fujita, who's definitely keeping the pressure on, keeping close to his rear bumper.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very, very scary thing when you're driving behind another car like that. You don't know if they make a mistake and they could wind up almost inside you with contact. I would not be surprised if race organizers have a word here about that blinking.
Yeah, I suspect at least it's going to be another little warning if this keeps it up throughout the entirety of the race. Let's cross our fingers that it clears itself before it's done. And now getting even closer, the 320 looks like he might be setting something up. If he can get a little bit of a better run off of Le Mans compared to last time. We may have had an issue with Breton. We'll get to that in a second. Let's see how this fares first as we come down the Ullman Straight. Yes, he is much closer.
Very, very close behind, under 0.2 of a second. That's going to come down to under 1/10 of a second if he decides to go for the move. He's going to think about it. A little bit of a Pruitt fade there from Krasowski as they go down into sunset.
Doesn't completely cover it off, though, and Fujita is through. He is our new leader coming off the final turn, but I don't know that he can hold it because Krasowski gets a great launch off the corner. He goes off to the right-hand side as Kazuki once again defends behind them. Olivier giving watch, and he's going to take advantage of it. He's going to try and poke his nose through to take second place off the hands of Daniel. It's not done yet. It carries on down into 3.
It keeps going here. Olivier trying to be later on the binders, and he's going to shut the door. That is Dominic Olivier up into P2. Krasowski demoted in 3 corners, 2 positions.
Daniel can't have it all his own way like races prior. He has got severe competition today. And in fact, they have not dropped those behind them as well. Menino is still in the hunt and could maybe challenge him depending on how things go from here. But now Kazuki Fujita is clearly your new leader.
Yes, he is trying to build that gap out over Dominic Olivier a little bit as it is working his way ahead here, trying to grow it out. It's about 3, 4, 5/10 of a second right now.
Wow, just an absolute train here amongst our leaders. This could change at any moment. So I'm taking a glance back myself to try and find out what happened to Breton on that last lap. It looks like he had a self-spin out of tower, so we don't need to see the replay. The 89 is able to carry on without any sort of damage from there. Our highest AM driver currently, Juan Benitez in the 55. He sits in 10th.
All right, so Benitez able to hold that out, and he doesn't have a whole lot of competition here around him, but we've got to keep our eyes focused on this battle because this thing could erupt at absolutely any moment, Joe.
And I think Olivier has his sights set on the lead. That Porsche is looking quick, and in fact, he's going to try and get to the inside. He does find a gap down into there. The Lambo does not chop him off, carries the long way around, and now for the second lap in a row, we have a change for the lead and our third different leader in Dominic.
So Dominic Olivier being able to hold it up, but Kazuki Fujita's not done. He's going to have a look down into turn 1.
Oh, that was a big dive, and he's given plenty of space by Olivier, who still retains that lead. That makes the Lambo susceptible. The BMW of Daniel Krasowski takes a little bit of a look, but then has to back down.
He's not going to be able to make the move, but Fujita's got to be careful about taking any of those late lunges into the corner, as that will leave him susceptible to an attack from Daniel behind.
Coming up into the hairpin now. This is where things can sometimes get a little sketchy because a late dive can either go spectacularly well or spectacularly bad for the drivers. Thankfully, nobody trying it this time in that corner. And Tyler Campbell's had an issue. Tyler Campbell's off the track. The 23 did have an issue into the hairpin. He had some contact, it looks like, with Jordan Kuntz.
Yeah, and there's some pretty significant damage to the left front of that Ferrari. You can see it there. The side paneling just ripped off a little bit. Doesn't look like he's got too much suspension damage, so I think he'll be able to carry on.
Yep, into Collier. Alan Roth is the next one that's able to overtake him. I think that's even his teammate that just managed to go by him there. And finally, he's able to stop the bleeding. Let's take a quick glance at that opening incident, because that has played a major role in this race. We could have seen a few top 10s out of some drivers if it wasn't for that. Oh, he gets loose. Did he get help before that started, or was that all on him?
Let's see if we can get a different angle of it here, Joe, but I wouldn't be surprised. That Audi very susceptible to twitch oversteer on low tire temperatures. So let's see here with Teddy. You can see him, that green and black Audi in the background.
If he's susceptible to twitch, he shouldn't be streaming. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I see what you did there.
Yes, as we come into the corner, nobody's touching him. Yeah, that was on his own. Teddy's got to put his hand up for that one. And that unfortunately gave him a big hit. He's still taking repairs since then. So I doubt he's sipping the champagne, but like it, he will have to remain on ice for the time being.
Yes, he will. As we check back in on the battle for the lead, Olivier able to pull out a little bit of a gap over Kazuki Fujita, but still nothing to shake a stick at. Fujita still in attacking range.
And he's probably going to keep it there. This is starting to look a lot like what we did see at the start of Phillip Island, the first half of the race before the pit stops, where the drivers just could not get away from one another, and it gave us some tense action, some great battling, as we've already had some swapping of position, swapping of the lead here amongst these drivers. Ooh, and closing in into the tower. Fujita says, "I'd like a few more passes, please."
Yes, he would. He's thinking about it. Tower's a very tricky place to get a pass done, but you can do it, although it'll definitely compromise your line if you get it wrong.
He just touched the gravel coming off of the corner, but thankfully didn't lose time with it. Now off of Le Mans. Ooh, way off the apex there from the Porsche. Dominic Olivier finds himself getting a decent exit, even with a little bit of a wide line. Fujita pulls him in. The Lamborghini, as low slung as it is. Oh, he's going to try it. He's thinking about it. Oh, he goes in it way too deep, and that's going to sit him around. Olivier goes off, and he's into the tires.
Oh, coming to blows already, and that's going to set up Daniel Krasowski to make a move down the front straightaway. Here they go. It's a drag race. Italy versus Germany.
Krasowski's not above taking advantage of a little bit of action in front of him. He cuts back underneath. Will he get the over-under off of the first turn? Doesn't have better exit speed, so Fujita remains ahead. But I suspect that the stewards are going to be taking a look at that post-race.
I think they will as well. I think that was a little bit of an over-aggressive move there from Kazuki, but he is going to keep fighting for every single position he's got. But Krasowski gets a great launch there, out, down through Gurney Bend.
Took that round 3 a little too literally. It's down to these two once again, and he didn't want Olivier to be involved in their head-to-head battle. Of course, they still got more company. Another Lambo is in there. That's Dave Menino, rather. And Diego Moraes, the AM driver, is up to 4th.
My goodness gracious, that Audi putting in a whole bunch of work, and it's currently the highest placed Audi in the field right now, Joe.
Incredibly, this would not be a first if we did get an AM on the podium. We've actually had an AM winner overall in the PRL before. I believe that was in the F3 series that we witnessed that before. So it is not a case of a first time for everything. It'll actually be a bit of a repeat of history if we see him get up into the top 3. These 4 pulling away, and they're starting to pull along Vincent Trepanier, the driver second in the pro points. He wants to stay glued to the rear of this quartet.
Yeah, he very, very much does. And I get the sense here that Vincent may just be playing a little bit of a waiting game here. He'll be able to tuck back behind, maybe save a little bit of fuel. This will be good for him.
Had a wreck for Josh Slade in the 34. He hit the wall coming out of tower. Another victim for that corner as the top 5 fly down the front stretch and into the first turn. Menino's looking ever more interested in Krasowski. And we got a couple pitters. Looks like Gonzalez is in, Olivier is in. That's teammates. Now, Olivier, that's not too shocking. I wonder if he has a little bit of damage that he feels he needs to repair, but his teammate coming in with him, we did not expect.
No, I did not expect that at all, Joe. Very, very surprising to see that fire off. This is a bit early, I would think, for pit stops to be had.
I think they should be able to get to the end. I don't think it's too dire early. They might have to save a little bit of fuel, but they're within range of what we're expecting. But it's certainly going to put them well down and behind a lot of drivers, so they're going to have to make some overtakes from here.
Yeah, they are, and that is not what you want to be doing through the second and third sectors on this track. It is very, very tough to do. We continue to focus on this quintet, this battle for the lead up here. Fujita, Krasowski, Menino, Moraes, and Trepanier.
And Trepannier's definitely caught the group now. It has become a battle of 5. Next one behind them is a full 2 seconds behind J.R. Williams. And we'll have to keep an eye on whether or not he can do much the same and join the fun. There you see, that's Williams in the Porsche right now. And he's teammates with Menino up there in that number 3, down the Ullman Straight. And almost looking like a Beatles album as everybody is nice and equally spread apart now.
Indeed, they are. Nobody really going for a move here. The track temperature continuing to rise a little bit. It's up to 102 degrees Fahrenheit right now. The Florida sun's certainly beating down here, and I think that is affecting these drivers a little bit. They're thinking about those tire temperatures, not wanting to push too hard and overcook those tires.
Interesting to note, as I was looking to see if anybody else had pit, Gonzalez and Olivier actually came out at the very tail of the field. So they had a little bit of one lap to try and pick up the pace after the stop. But now they're going to have to try and start overtaking cars. Look at how close Krasowski's starting to get once again. He is beginning to menace the mirrors of the 320. And I'm pretty certain we'll see a move soon from him.
I think we will. I think Daniel Krasowski is the kind of driver that does not want to be stuck around back in second place. He wants to get a move on here.
Down into the hairpin. I mentioned the AM status of Moraes. One of the incredible things about this is he's a driver that's below 2,000 iRating, and he is right now swapping with everybody who is 3,500 or above. So talk about stepping up above your weight class to try and pick a fight. This is a guy that is afraid of no one.
Yeah, he is really putting it in there, and look how much closer he is getting to the back of Dave Menino here, really starting to push that Audi as hard as he can.
Had a couple DNFs since the start. Jerome Bertone naturally is one of them. Edward Nelson is the only other. Lowendick and Davies are still taking repairs. They're currently 6 laps down. They could try and get out and scrap a few laps up if any drivers have an incident and give them an automatic position. Back on to the Ullman Straight they go as we jump a little farther behind. This is Benitez with Tremblay. Apologies, earlier I called Benitez the highest AM driver. He's currently second in that class, so definitely points to be had here by the 55, but Tremblay is not interested in this AM fight because he's a pro that just wants to try and catch up to the front group.
Yeah, but he's not quite able to get the legs over that Ferrari right now. He's been trying for the last couple of laps, and that BMW just doesn't quite seem to have it. Now, the only other possibility here is that he's doing a little bit of fuel saving behind that Ferrari to maybe go an extra couple of laps on this tank of fuel.
Yeah, we haven't discussed that a whole lot yet lately today, but I do think that could be a possibility. The driver's just trying to use that toe to save gas. Guys like Moraes might be doing it. Menino might be in a good position. Trepanier. I suppose you could say Krasowski. I don't think, from what I've seen from him in previous races, he doesn't seem like the type interested in just sitting back to save fuel.
No, I don't think he is necessarily, but it's always a possibility. You can always see a bird changing its feathers here every once in a while.
Indeed. Well, 23 minutes left on the clock. We're almost to the halfway point. We've only had 2 drivers come in for scheduled stops. Everybody else has decided to try and at least run it to the halfway, if not to the end of the pit window. And this has been the big story all day. Fujita and Krasowski at it once again, but it was Krasowski originally on pole and Fujita in second. They've had some back and forth, but they've lost a friend in the process with the fellow driver Olivier falling down to 26 currently after he took a pit stop and got tipped around into Sunset Bend. So he is on a recovery drive, but he's also on an alternate strategy to boot to see if that will do anything for him.
Exactly. So he'll hope to try to gain up some time. He's having to fight his way through some slower cars right now, along with his teammate Gonzalez. Not able to get a run there, though. Interesting, though, watching the lines coming through Sunset. It looks like Krasowski takes a much tighter line all the way through, just trying to hug that inside line. It looks a little bit like Fujita's taking almost more of an oval line into that corner. Really, really late apex, trying to maximize speed on corner entry.
And there's no banking to speak of through there either. I've heard multiple drivers say in the past that there's more and more violent bumps on that inside line, and so the instinct to go in there isn't always the right way. But I got to think with these different makes of cars, everybody's gonna kind of have to take their own approach.
Indeed, that BMW tends to be a little bit more solid, a little less prone to any oversteer, so I think he would be able to take it through there a little bit more. The Lamborghini, very quick, a little bit twitchy at points, specifically under braking. It can be a little bit unstable, but that may be what is playing into the driver's decisions to take those alternating lines.
That's a fair point. And coming back into Collier once again, still not seeing the lap traffic. In fact, they got a long ways before they get to any. We've had another scheduled stop. Cody Hatch has come in. Josh Slade does not have a scheduled stop. I think he's had an issue because he's in long already. And yeah, I think he's having to get some repairs done. Oh, he had another incident, this time out of Le Mans, it looks like. So the 34 with 2 contacts with the wall now.
And easy to do around here, even though this is an old airstrip and there's plenty of paved runoff. You're carrying so much speed around here. If you start to get off and into the marbles, even on a quick sprint race like this, those marbles really will start to develop. Very easy to catch yourself out.
By the way, fans of Michael Davies, the 75 car's back on track. He is 8 laps down. Teddy Lowendick still has not been able to get it rolling. I'm not sure that he's going to attempt anything from here, since it's now halfway through the race, and I don't think he'd be able to get enough laps to take over anybody except for Michael Davies. Anyways, we continue to watch, and this is getting ever tighter through the first turn, but a poor exit from Krasowski that time. Menino closes up, but it's too short of a straight up to turn 3.
It is, but if Menino's really able to maximize here, he may have a little bit of a run. Doesn't look like he's pushing that hard, though. I get the sense here, Dave Menino, who we have not seen an ounce of aggression out of him really over the course of this race. I think Dave is saving fuel here. I think he's playing the long game.
I'm starting to think the same. One of our onboards today, Juan Benitez in the 55, just took his pit stop. He's cruising out of the exit, and it looks like he will come in behind Olivier and Gonzalez, who have now promoted themselves to 20th and 21st. The two teammates have kind of been sticking together as they charge through the field. We on screen are looking at the top 5. That's Fujita, Krasowski, Menino, Moraes, and Trepanier.
Yeah, they continue to keep battling out here. I think Moraes is just relatively happy to be where he is. He's got a very, very large lead over the closest AM driver, who is now, after that pit stop from Benitez, Dewey Kang all the way back in 9th place. He is relatively content. We just talked about Dave Menino. Vincent Trepanier, I think, is just waiting for the moment to pounce.
We get a little hard charger love for one of our AM drivers. The 86 of Kwok Nin is up 11 spots here today, 21st to 10th. This will be very handy for him. A couple AMs have already pitted, so he's probably going to give a few spots back in that championship hunt once he takes his pit stop. But even still, I'm pretty certain a top 10, maybe even top 5 is possible for Kwok.
Indeed, and we've seen this out of him the last couple of races. A very, very good run in the race. Some not so hot qualifying, and he's talked about his desire to address those qualifying problems. Reminds me a little bit of the way to run around here, as we're also hearing we've got some news with Jordan Kuntz.
Yes, he's up 9 positions, so not quite as impressive, but still pretty darn good. From 19th to 8th, you could almost argue a little bit harder when you get higher up to try and take those positions. So the 99 car, one of our pros, currently sitting 8th overall, sandwiched between Dewey Kang and Jean-Marc Tremblay.
Yeah, so he is right there. You can see him on your screen as he works his way around, checking back in on that battle for the lead, though nothing changing quite yet. As we get into that middle section of the race, this is where you normally see things start to get a little quiet before pit stops tick off.
Yeah, it could be the calm before the storm when things really start to erupt, as we got a battle side by side down into the hairpin. That is Arnaud Genet with Alan Roth going through, and Roth gets 14th with that move.
A good run there for Roth. A little bit gutsy going down into the hairpin. We've talked about how tricky that pass can be. Maybe a little bit of a fight back. Whoa! He's going to miss that apex pretty wholeheartedly.
Absolutely, and as they come down into tower, still trying to hound him this way and that. It's a difficult corner to break for, but Brisson not able to try and shake Arnaud Genet off the line. 16 minutes left to go for our drivers into Jean Debienne. This trio all fighting for what is 14th. Roth able to recently get by on this lap and now wants to start to pull away as they once again exit onto the Ullman Straight.
And Joe, based off of my math here, which is a terrifying sentence for me to say, I know, but I anticipate drivers probably making it 1, maybe 2 more laps if it gets around here on fuel. We saw the first couple of drivers, namely Olivier and Gonzalez, coming in about 12 laps into this race, and so that would mean that if they can make it from there, I would anticipate drivers coming around that 12-minute mark.
We saw Dewey Kang pitting in, very much digging that 32's livery, because I think that was a bit of an homage to the old Apple Porsche that I think Bobby Rahal drove, didn't he?
I think Bobby got in it at some point, yeah.
Back out, and he is going to return in 20th. Gonzalez, Olivier, 17th and 18th now, and still Linus Stern out there just clicking off laps. There they are.
Yeah, definitely doing a little bit of formation flying here. I think these two dual Porsches. Olivier looks like he's got a little bit more speed, but he may be able to help a little bit on the fuel run just by sitting behind. Maybe not a little bit of formation flying, as that was Olivier taking a little bit of an aggressive line to the outside.
Well, Gonzalez stays ahead of him, though, for now. And yeah, as close as he's tailing him, it seems he would save some fuel, but I'm not sure how much he really gained. Let me look at the pit stop times. Yeah, Olivier's was a little short, 10.6. In fact, that is the quickest stop we've seen so far today. Not drastically quicker, so it doesn't look like he's going to be sputtering at the line, at least from what we can tell, but okay, well, let's keep an eye on that. Oh, as he kicks up a little bit of dirt out of tower.
And we've got the leader down pit lane. Kazuki Fujita down in the pits along with Diego Morez. Both of them opting to come down.
J.R. Williams joins them. Krasowski continues, Menino continues, and Trepanier continues. This might be bad news for the 87 of Vincent Trepanier. He's lost the draft of those ahead. With everybody between himself and Menino pitting, he's kind of become an island unto himself.
Yeah, he really has, and so that's going to hurt his times a little bit on this last lap. I wouldn't be surprised if he dives down pit lane this time. The driver who I think this may definitely benefit still is Dave Menino, as he's going to be able to stay behind in that draft. Basically hasn't lost anything with those pitting around him.
Fujita's already back out and in the lead. Watching as more and more drivers pit in. Wow, it was the front of the group that really was great on fuel compared to the mid-pack, as most of the mid-pack pits early this time. That's a bit counter to what we've witnessed in races past. As for the gap between Fujita and Oliveira, because remember we mentioned Oliveira is on a fight back. He's gotten back past Gonzalez, but it looks like he is in the realm of about 15 to 14 seconds behind Kazuki, so I don't think he's going to be catching him before this race is over.
Yeah, I don't think he is either, and you can see there's some rear wing damage to the end of that Porsche, so that'll hurt him just a little bit in a straight line and potentially affect his overall lap times.
He's got to be frustrated after that one, especially since he came in 5th in the points here today. He could have really jumped himself up a couple more spots in the championship hunt. So now what happens to the BMW? Krasowski still hugging that inside line, and he's pitting in. So is Menino. Looks like Trepanier follows. Davies is going to be the next one coming around, but he is 3 laps down. He keeps going, doesn't need to pit at this time. Tremblay, Kwok Nin, Tyler Campbell, the last ones that need to stop. But Fujita is the one we want to keep our eyes half on to see where he blends in with Krasowski once this BMW takes his fuel. Waiting patiently. It was 11.2 for Kazuki, 9.8 for Krasowski. That's our new quickest pit stop of the day.
It is indeed a good run for there, but Kazuki Fujita going to be coming up with a full head of steam here, but Krasowski able to stay out ahead. It's going to be a side-by-side duel with Menino. Fujita just able to nip ahead.
Oh, no, and now there's a gap he's got to try and make up to catch up to Krasowski. It's not impossible, but it's about a second and a half between the pair of them. Well then, Daniel Krasowski, you said you think he could save some fuel, and I'd say he did.
I think he did. He definitely is moving his way up there. So that's exactly what Krasowski did. Save some fuel behind Fujita, let Fujita break that good air. But now it is all down to Kazuki Fujita. And if he is able to just put the pedal down and go full attack mode.
And these three have trimmed down what the battle will be as well, because Moraes is about 3 seconds behind them. Oh, do we have a problem with Jean-Marc Tremblay? No, he got passed by Gonzalez into the hairpin, it looks like.
Yep, there it is, down to the hairpin. A good move for Gonzalez, but a little bit of a fight back here. Oh, no, he's going to think better of it.
Tremblay back into the racing line. Juan Benitez, second in the AM class, coming up behind them. Sure, he'd love to have the pride of a few more spots overall, even though it won't give him much or anything really in the AM points situation. As I mentioned before, the driver leading that AM race right now is in 4th, Diego Moraes, 3 seconds behind the top 3 and trying to hold back Vincent Trepanier. And watching Tremblay stick with the 2 Porsches. Let's see if the power of that BMW helps him grunt off the corner and manage to blast past their fellow German cars, but it's not looking good right now.
No, it doesn't quite look like he's able to do it. A little bit of a fade there from both drivers, just trying to cover off the inside a little bit. Tremblay certainly thinking about it. He's going to take a little bit of a narrower entry there going down into Sunset. Now he's going to try to take a little bit more on the exit, carry as much momentum as possible, but he lost time there.
He did. It's not looking good. 9 minutes left to go. Still a few laps left to try and effect a pass. Now they're being approached by Benitez. Closer and closer. So 4 cars are going to be a little bit more difficult to try and navigate than just 3. There's the view from Benitez. And you can see how violent this track is. Those screens showing the bits of the car just bouncing around as his head stays stationary virtually.
Yeah, exactly. It is such a brutal, brutal track. You hear drivers talk about quite extensively that this is the most punishing endurance race in the world, the 12 Hours of Sebring. It's worse than Le Mans. It's worse than the 24 Hours of Daytona. It's worse than Petit. It is a tough track on you physically and mentally.
I think he's starting to catch up here now. He is down to 0.4 of a second. It is looking good for Benitez. Behind him, the third and final step on the podium is going to actually be Kwok Ninh. I said a top 5 might be possible. Kwok Ninh gets himself able to spray the amateur champagne. Guess the amateur champagne is the stuff that doesn't come from whatever the Champagne region of France. As our drivers now swing through Jean Damiens. And this is the teammates of Olivier and Gonzalez. 7th place, that's a decent recovery there for Dominic. I'm sure he wanted more. I'm sure he wanted that podium up with the pros, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. Here is Moraes in the meantime, as he's playing defense on Trepanier behind him, and the 87.
Yeah, and Vincent Trepanier has been able to close that gap down a little bit. He got it down by about 0.2 of a second on the last lap, but Moraes doing a good job of just trying to keep that Audi ahead. Ooh, a little bit of a clip of the curb there for Vincent Trepanier. That's going to slow him down by about 0.5. He's going to lose some time, and he's not going to have an attack now going down into the hairpin.
And this is one of the best places to try and overtake, too, so he's going to kick himself for making that mistake when he did. Little bit of a look anyways, just try to show himself in the mirrors of that Audi and see if he could shake him off the line. No such luck this time. I've been watching Krasowski and Fujita. Now last lap, Krasowski is about 1/10 faster, but this first half of the lap, Fujita was 0.3 quicker. So not sure if there's an ebb and a flow going on or if we missed a mistake from the 33.
It looks like Fujita is just absolutely powering, Joe. Through the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th sectors is where that Lamborghini has traditionally been a little bit slower compared to the BMW with these two drivers behind the wheel, and he has just been putting in some mega times to be able to catch up. And what makes it all the more impressive on this lap is that's despite a purple 1st sector from Krasowski.
Wow. Okay, then. So, yeah, not a mistake. That is just Fujita kicking it up a notch, down to 1.2 seconds. This is exactly what the 320 needs to do here. He has very few laps left to try and get Krasowski under threat. He's going to want to get within that slipstream within the next lap, I'd say, so that he can have some opportunities to try and attack. And just about clipping the grass coming off the exit. Krasowski knows it. He is pushing like the Dickens now. 2 flat 3 personal best for Krasowski. A 2 flat 0 for Kazuki Fujita.
Yeah, he was 33 hundredths of a second faster there on that last lap, so he is definitely putting it down quicker again to the tune of about 0.5 in the 1st sector. Kazuki is on it.
Fujita, his best lap actually came on lap 2, a 2:03.9 for him, and I think that is the overall fastest lap of the race, so bonus potentially in the hands of Kazuki Fujita. It's the track has cooled down. It was up to 112 for a while, or I think you said 103 for a while. It's down to 93. This is actually quite a bit of fluctuation, a shocking amount.
Yeah, it really is, Joe. That is not normally what you would expect on a track, but because of the nature of this Sebring circuit, the asphalt and concrete that is used here to make it up, it is very, very prone to track temperature changes. And so a big fluctuation like that, not exactly uncommon. That was Fujita getting a little bit squirrely.
Just went wide coming off of tower. That cost him a couple tenths. Very valuable tenths today because it's back to 1.4 seconds. He's closer than he was at the finish back at Silverstone, at least right now. Question is there enough in him to get this within striking range? It's going to be 2 laps to go next time by, and we had a problem with J.R. Williams. J.R. Williams into Jean Damiens, finds himself close to the wall, but did he make contact with it?
It doesn't look like there's any apparent damage to the car. That rear wing and the front nose look okay, so I'm going to suspect that he didn't make any contact there, Joe.
can confirm. I went back and watched on my replay. He just stopped at about inches from coming together. Here we go again. Tremblay with Gonzalez. They've lost touch with his teammate Olivier, who is stretched off into the distance. But Tremblay is now back into P8, cutting underneath. Gonzalez wants the spot back. The battle carries on.
It does indeed. Here they go on a straight drag race down the start finish straightaway. This is Tremblay trying to hold out to the inside. He'll have the preferred line into turn one.
Porsche versus BMW once again. The inside going to Tremblay, and Gonzalez not giving it up. He hangs tough. He's going to have to go around the outside. They're going to make a little bit of contact, and Gonzalez has to try and gather the car up. He doesn't lose his spot, but he also doesn't manage to overtake Jean-Marc.
Oh, so not able to get that position back, but a heck of a fight that was put on there. Some great stuff on display.
The plot thickens. Fujita is down to 0.7 of a second now. Once again, the first half of the course is proving his playground. The 320 is just on top of it, and this is where he had an issue before, and he has another issue as he once again goes a little wide. It stretches back up to 0.9 of a second.
But as long as he keeps it within about a second, Joe, he'll be able to get good draft from Krasowski in front of him. So he just needs to focus here going through Jean Debienne and down through Le Mans to try to pick up as much of that draft as he can and set himself up.
He's pushing hard. Is it pushing too hard, though? You have to wonder. The fact that 2 laps in a row, the same corner, the car loses time. But it's that first half of the lap that they're going to be coming to here very soon as they get the white flag. Can Fujita make a last lap pass here and take his first win of the series, be the first person to beat Krasowski in season 1 of 2022? Coming down into the first corner at 0.7 of a second, and it was a 59.9, the first driver to break 2 minutes in this race.
Oh, Fujita is absolutely on it. Even with that mistake, it shows you just how much speed he's got underneath that Lamborghini. He is pushing hard here. The gap coming down, it's under 0.7.
He is once again much quicker here through the twisty bits. And a small correction for myself, Dominic Olivier hit a 1:59.7 on lap 2. So Dominic held the fastest lap and still holds the fastest lap up until this stage. As well, no, make that Michael Davies, who now has it. Still 0.7 of a second, just cracking under 0.7, 0.6 of a second for Fujita. But this is where he always starts to lose it a little.
He's got to be very, very careful here as they go through tower. Come on, Kazuki. He's able to keep it nice through there, nice and easy. He's now got to bring it back around here. Excuse me, that was Cunningham. Now down into tower. This is where he's made the mistake previously. Can he keep all 4 wheels on? Keeps it much better.
Took a lot of inside curb. He was daring there as the car bounded over it, but it helped and it paid dividends. 0.5 of a second. He needs a huge run coming down into Sunset Bend. The car is sliding all over the place and he's chucking it into corners. 0.4 of a second briefly. He is trying to get on that throttle pedal. It is 0.5 of a second, and I don't think it's enough unless we see another dire move out of that red Lamborghini. Krasowski, can he hold him off here in this final corner of the race? Sending it in deep. Kazuki sends a Hail Mary at it, but it's not going to hit the receiver. Krasowski is going to take the win for the 4th race in a row here in the GT Pro-Am Series.
Wow, Joe, an amazing attack, an amazing defense there. Power driving from Krasowski and Fujita.
Murray's lost 4th to Trepanier, but still a nice top 5 overall. Williams in 6. Olivier had to settle for P7. Where is Benitez? Benitez caught up to Tremblay and Gonzalez, but couldn't pass them. A 2nd place in AM for Benitez, and Kwok Nin, a very handy 3rd in his class.
Whew, I need some oxygen after the end of that race, Joe. Just some great driving up and down the field. Sebring producing as always.
For fans of Teddy Lowendick, he's actually going to see the checkered flag, but he's 9 laps down, sadly, out of Let's see, what do we have for the leaders? 21 laps. Yeah, he barely got half of this race in, unfortunately. But that's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway. This Florida track showed us a good time once again, as Daniel Krasowski may have taken his fourth win in a row, but Kazuki Fujita got within 0.5 of a second. It's his closest finish to Krasowski to date and made him sweat the entire time. Menino got himself, I wouldn't say a quiet third, but wasn't as much of a factor as those two up at the front. Vincent Trepanier with a fourth was followed by Diego Moraes, who took the AM win from 5th overall. He might get bumped up to pro next thing we know. J.R. Williams will finish 6th today as Dominic Olivier got punted out by Kazuki Fujita early in the race and was only able to recover to 7th. Jeremy Gonzalez, his teammate, was a little bit behind him, but still got a handy 8th as Jean-Marc Tremblay was 9th and Juan Benitez 2nd in the AM class from 17th to 10th.
In 11th, it was Kwok Nin, followed by Dewey Kang with Vincente Sepulveda and Aaron Webb behind them. Tyler Campbell was 15th, followed by Alan Roth with Jordan Kuhn 17th and Tommy Brisson in 18th. Arnaud Genet came home 19th, and Marc-Andre Desjardins rounds out your top 20.
21st went to Kevin Norris, and then it's Jean-Claude Langlois in at 22nd with Alexander Breton in 23rd. After that, it's Cody Hatch, who got up 6 places from his qualifying to 24th, taking advantage of that attrition. Danik Van Dale was the last one on the lead lap in 25th. From there, Josh Slade, a couple spins cost him damage. He had to settle for 26th. Michael Davies eventually got back out on track, 8 laps down in 27th. Ted Lowendick, 9 laps down in 28th. From there, it is DNFs for the rest. Daniel Krasowski, what a run of races it has been for our points leader with his 4th win in a row. Daniel, though, in that last lap, you started to see Kazuki getting bigger in your mirrors. Did he get any nervousness out of you from that?
Oh, I'm drenched in sweat, and my heart rate's probably over 150. As you can imagine, I did not want to get into a battle with him. I probably would have let him go. I'm just too far ahead in points to get taken out. And with his driving style, I was just going to let him go. I think from the beginning, the race played into my hands with his aggression. Onto Dominic, I don't know what the stewards are going to say about that one, but I think I was going to take the win anyways, whether I got 2nd or 1st, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we had commented that we figured that it will likely be protested, but regardless, this track, we noticed there were a lot of different lines through Sunset Bend, and you seemed to take a much shallower one. Was the BMW just much more planted? Is that what allowed you to try and hug the inside through there?
That's kind of with the setup. I got a setup from RSR Motorsports, and it's got a low wing, and it's the only line I was able to take that it was, with the brake bias adjustment I made, that it was smooth and fast. I've tried many lines that just felt more comfortable in the BMW. I did see everybody take other lines, but that's what worked out best for me.
Well, this has been quite a show that you've put on. 4 straight wins to start things off. When we head off to Spa, is it going to be 5 for 5 the first half of the season going to you, or is that going to be tough with the slipstream there to do the same?
Let's hope so. Maybe I won't qualify first this time, and I'll just sit in the back. You guys probably noticed my strategy is pretty much the same every time. If they're going to battle in front of me, I'm just going to stay there. There's too much risk.
Well, that answers a question we had during the broadcast. Congratulations on the victory today. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank my girlfriend's godson. Today we went snowboarding. I took him out. He's visiting from Poland. And unfortunately, I tell him we have to leave early today because I need to make this race. So he was really telling me that I got to win this. So thanks to him for dropping a few hours of snowboarding just to make this race. And I'd like to thank RSR Esports for the setup this week. It was actually faster than all the other ones I've tried. And thanks to my girlfriend, thanks to PKM, my karting group, and to all my fans watching. Best fans in the world.
Great stuff there from Krasowski. Love that. Able to dedicate a win to a very patient young man, it sounds like. And it looks like we got third place with DJ. Dave Menino joins us and couldn't quite hang at the end.
I was going to say, Dave, it looked like a very, very close battle there for you. We kind of suspected that you maybe were saving a little bit of fuel in that first run. Was that the case?
Yeah, definitely. Once I caught up to the group, I was definitely saving. I saw that Krasowski was saving too, and I knew I didn't really have the pace of those guys just outright. So I knew kind of my best shot was to try and save as much fuel and then try and push towards the end. But yeah, I didn't really have the pace for Fujita or Krasowski, so my best bet was to just save fuel and try and undercut him.
Well, and obviously you were able to sort of keep ahead of those dueling Audis behind you and starting to close in at the end a little bit. How hard were you pushing, or did you just kind of back it off?
I was pushing pretty hard for the first probably 3 laps, and then I just realized I had nothing. I didn't have the pace that Fujita had, so I kind of backed it off a little bit. I was struggling a little bit with the rears under braking, and so that's, especially with the track as hot as it was kind of safer just to back off a little. And then I was just kind of praying that Fujita and Krasowski would start battling, and then maybe that'd give me a chance. But wasn't the case, but definitely still really pleased with the podium.
Well, we head to Spa next time. I have a feeling that Lamborghini is going to be pretty strong around there. How do you like your chances?
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain about Spa. It's a great track. It'll nonetheless be a lot of fun. I feel pretty good. I mean, if I remember correctly, the BMW was really strong at the Spa 24, so I think that could be good. But I mean, the Lamborghini's been pretty solid every track so far. So, I mean, I got to think it'll be pretty competitive.
Well, we wish you the best of luck out there. Anybody you'd like to thank for the run today?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys at GSRC for broadcasting, the PRL team for setting up the league, and the SRT eSport team. Definitely really pleased with third, and I think JR got a net P5 in pros, so definitely some solid team points.
You got to be happy with that. That was Dave Menino, your third place driver here today. And now, Joe, I believe you've caught up with our second placed AM driver, Juan Benitez.
Yep, but 10th overall on top of it, so not a bad day for Juan Benitez. And with a podium in his class, let's take a chat with him to see how he feels about what went down in today's race, starting with the beginning, because Juan, looked like you had a bit of a scare coming out of turn 1.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea where I was, what position I was, who caused the crash. I mean, I heard Ted going over with the radio, so I assume it was him. But it was a mess. Luckily, the guy who was behind me, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Quokney. He didn't hit me. I have no idea how, but he braked just on the limit. I was just watching the replay on that, and it was a crazy first lap. I mean, the whole race was super crazy.
And that put you in that 10th position after that first incident. From there, did you simply try and consolidate that spot? Did you think, okay, this is a really good place to be, I don't want to rock the boat, or were you still pushing?
I'll be honest with you, I really thought that I had the pace to be a little bit farther up. Disappointing regarding that, but I'm happy with P10. I was able to keep up with John Mark Tremblay, I think is pronounced. He had a I think a Beamer, and I was able to keep up with him, but he gained a lot of time on the pit stop, and I lost a lot of time there. Actually, in my opinion, I had a good pit stop, but I have no idea what went wrong. He was just farther ahead when he came out, and again, I really thought that I had the pace to be a little bit farther up. When Dominic Olivier had an incident, and I saw he was close by, and I kept by his pace a little bit, and then he just took off. He was just way quicker than I was. But yeah, it was a very good race, and I'm happy with the results. A little disappointed, maybe. I thought I had more pace in me, but these guys are just quick.
Yeah, they certainly are up at the top. I mean, being in the AM category, though, you can't really feel too disappointed. And it looks like this will extend your points lead over Dewey Kang, making it, I think, definitely more than 20 points after today is over. We're hitting the halfway point here soon. Do you dare think of the AM Championship, or do you not really want those things in your head?
Not yet. Remember what I told you last time? Iago Morales, it was just a matter of time for him to be farther up, and there he is. He's just got much more pace than I do. He's faster. I think I out-qualified him only once in Silverstone, and besides that, he was always in front of me. And he has a better car, and he has more pace than I do. So I don't know. It's still early to say.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. Congratulations on an AM podium. Anybody you want to thank?
Oh, to you guys. You guys do an awesome job every single week, and it's just awesome. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was Juan Benitez, 10th overall second in the AMs. One last one. I think DJ Clark has caught up with Aaron Webb, who was 14th today.
I have indeed, Aaron, a pretty good run in what can charitably be described as a pretty crazy race. So how was it from you behind the cockpit?
Yeah, it was quite an exciting start there. It seemed like the whole track was blocked lap one, but yeah, luckily, got through that and was able to hang with the guys on track. So.
Well, and, a lot of fuel strategy came into this race, especially with the leaders up front. How much were you thinking about being cautious on that right pedal, and how much were you just going for it?
Yeah, I was just going for it. It was all go. Definitely cost me on the pit stop. I think I needed to take a little more fuel. I think I took an extra lap too, which hurt me. But yeah, I ended up getting passed back by one of the Puro drivers. It was Vicente. Had a good battle with him. So yeah, with a little better fuel strategy, maybe could have picked up another spot. But hey, P5 in class with as slow as I am, I'll take it.
Well, I wanted to ask you, with the Porsche, how are you finding it this year? Obviously, with the new BOP coming in, we haven't seen the Porsche nearly as dominant as it was in years past. Are you liking it, or are there some drawbacks to it this season?
Yeah, I think there definitely are some drawbacks to it. I like the challenge of it. I think it's a really fun car to drive. It's definitely not as quick as some of the others. I know Dom, he's taken it to join, Jerome and I and Elliot, running the Porsche. So, giving up a little bit, but yeah, it's a really fun car to drive.
Well, that's all you can ask for on this sim, my friend. Anybody you want to thank for this fifth place in class today?
Oh yeah, definitely. So, you guys do a great job putting this on. So thank you, GSRC. All the great sponsors of Precision Racing League, Advanced SimRacing, ButtKicker, RaceLab, NinjaTrader. Glad to have those guys support. PRL does an awesome job putting these things on, and yeah, glad to be able to participate.
Well, we're glad to have you, Aaron. Thank you so much. That was Aaron Webb, your 5th place finisher in the AM class.
Which is going to wrap us up for the evening. 2 great races that we got to witness, but we got to thank a few people ourselves before we go. Of course, starting with the majors here, as they are once again offering us a special code Put in Majors GSRC for 10% off. We have a link down in the description below that you can enter special, and that will automatically put it in for you. Also, a big thank you to ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab helps to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. And the ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, DJ Zach and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed here. Also, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And next time out, we're going to Hungary for the MX-5s and Spa in the GT3s. It'll be Monday, January 31st at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.